Welcome, everybody, to Looking for Love. I'm super excited to have you here. So, I've held a lot of classes on Facebook, and I tend to have this challenge where the comments don't actually show up. So, I'm going to open up my Facebook on my phone as well, which I meant to do before I before I jumped on, and then, like you do, I started scrolling on other people's pages. So now I'm going to go on the thing. So, please feel free to comment, ask questions, whatever you need to do. Make comments, ask concerns, clarifying, whatever you need. This video will be here for 30 days. So the video will be here on Facebook for 30 days, and then Facebook automatically deletes them. You also have access to this in the portal. For those of you that are watching it or seeing it on replay, you should have gotten an email giving you access to that. I'll also drop the link below, so that way you can watch it at any point in time. So, my name is Dawn Bennett. For those of you that don't know, I know some of you are new to my world. I know a lot of you I've worked with before in other angles in the past. I've been working with relationships and healing and emotions for many, many years now. And what I really love doing with these classes is really supporting you and helping you find your next step in relationship. So because this class is about looking for love, what I'm going to talk about today is how does your brain or your unconscious mind prevent you from having love? And where are maybe some blind spots? What are some things you can look at for yourself? We're going to go through how to determine some of the traits that you'll need in a partner, which is way different than anything I've ever seen. Kind of imagine yourself as like if you were the head of a corporation and you need to hire a sidekick. How would you know that they were going to fit into the culture of your corporation? Except way cooler than most corporations, because most corporations are a little bit, maybe not the right energy. But the biggest problem that I see for most people when they're in the dating world is they don't actually know what they're looking for. Like they want someone kind, but they don't really know how to define kindness. Or they want someone that communicates well. But I can guarantee you that if you say, I want someone that communicates well, and I say, I want someone that communicates well, we're talking about two totally different types of communication. Same thing with someone being funny. So what we want to do is we really want to understand like what is going on here? How do we actually see not only when people have the traits that we need, but then when don't they? Like in other words, where are maybe we settling for something different? Or maybe where are they showing us that right now they're just on their best behavior and this is not actually who they are in the world. So then eventually down the road, they're not going to be interacting in this way with you. So that's what we're going to discuss today. When we talk about learning to find love and looking for love, what we talk about is right now. The way that we've learned to choose our partners is way different. So historically, the way that we select our partners was very oriented towards the people that we knew, the communities that we were in, the cultures that we were in, right? It was very traditional, socioeconomic based. So the advantage of that is you get a lot of support. Your parents or your community or your churches or whomever usually knew the person that you were trying to date. That also gave another advantage, which is behavioral pre-screening. Like you knew who they were. People would come up and be like, oh, that guy's a drunk, or that guy beat his last wife, or that girl's family is like this, right? And so you knew about their upbringing, their wealth or lack thereof, their work ethic, what their family was like, because everyone knew each other or at least could connect. And the third advantage is that there wasn't a lot of choice. And I know that doesn't sound like an advantage, but it really grounded people into getting to know each other. And one of the challenges today that I often see is that people have so many people to choose from if they're doing something online. Or they go out and it seems like there's all these partners to choose from. And so it gets us confused. And so that's the historical model of how we selected a partner. And now we're in this more like Hollywood model of selecting a partner, right? It's all romantic. And we're supposed to be like, there's supposed to be this chemistry and this connection and mystery and romance and all this stuff. And you have to text, but not too often. And you have to wait and you play these games. and you have to behave a certain way. Like, this is how we're taught a little bit now in our culture to interact with dating, right? So the disadvantage of that is that you're not getting the support from family and friends usually because they're not the ones connecting you. So there's no behavioral pre-screening and you've got choice all over the place. And the challenge with that is that most people, when they're on dating apps, or even sometimes if they're not, are talking to 2 or 3 or 4 people at a time. And when you're talking to 2 or 3 or 4 people at a time, especially if you don't already know them in some capacity, you get bored. You start confusing them. Plus, you're kind of doing a half-assed job across the board because this person's probably going to ghost you down the road anyway, so why put a lot of effort into it? And of course, so if your brain's going, well, why put a lot of effort in this? They're going to ghost me anyway. What's going to happen? Don't put much effort into it. They don't put much effort into it, and then you ghost each other, or you decide you're not a good fit, or you never even make it to the first date. And so the challenge with that is that we're doing this like half-assed effort, and then when we finally go out on a date, we start settling faster, or we start getting down on ourselves. Like, we must not be valuable. We start saying things like, oh, girls only want the guys that are 10s. And guys only want the girls that are 10s, or only want the girls that look like this. And guys are like, oh, girls only want me for my money. And women are like, well, all the men are narcissists anyway. And guys are like, all the women in their masculine. So why the heck am I doing this? And then everybody gives up. And I'm going to use male female because that's most of the people that come to these classes. Like, I work a lot, by the way, with everybody, including non-traditional, non-traditional structures. We'll say it that way. So your brain does not know the difference between real and imaginary. Let's put it that way. It doesn't know the difference. So if you make up a story about something, your brain thinks it's just as real as if it actually happened. So this is what happens with us in trauma, right? We can think about what happened and it feels like we're experiencing it again. And when it feels like we're experiencing it again, what happens? We actually have physical, mental, and emotional reactions. Same thing happens when we're looking for partners. Okay. Now, when you're sitting at home, you're sitting here talking to people online, you're interacting, you're communicating with each other, and what goes on? Your brain, and you're swiping, you're talking to multiple people. Even if you're just looking at other people's posts, you're not even necessarily talking dating. Your brain thinks you're talking to all of those people. It literally thinks you're talking to all those people. So you're sitting at home talking to people online and interacting, and your brain's like, holy crap, I've talked to hundreds of people today. This is exhausting. And yet I'm not getting the hormones that I need. I'm not getting the oxytocin. I'm not getting the connection. I'm not getting the bonding. So I feel isolated. I feel like it's a little bit of a letdown. So now I'm on that search for a little bit more of the dopamine hit. And so now we get online, we start swiping based on looks, little bits of their bio maybe, like that looks funny, or that picture doesn't look funny, or gosh, there's another person doing XYZ, and we're totally judging. And what are we actually looking for? I know a woman who takes pictures for people that are dating, like this is her profession. She's a professional photographer. She brings people out and takes pictures of them that are good in different circumstances, like at the gym or playing pickleball or playing chess or sitting around drinking wine or doing something that they like to do, because she's like, people need to actually look good in the environments that they're in, because if you're taking a selfie at the gym and people see that, they're swipe past it. And now whether that's right or wrong and here nor there, that's what we're doing. So when we're looking for somebody and we're doing that, we're really doing ourselves a disservice. Right? So have you ever met someone who is like super kind, maybe they're attractive, and you hung out with them for a while and then you thought they were super boring or super annoying or super irritating or super something, right? But this is what happens, because we're swiping on people based upon looks, based upon a bio that they threw together that they're not even really sure what to put on there. And we don't understand how to fit them into our life. And so we pass them up. And people pass us up because we're looking for the wrong things. We're wasting our time, we're wasting our money, we're wasting our energy. So the unconscious mind. The unconscious mind is the part of us that, when you drive to the store and you don't remember how you got there? That's the unconscious mind. It does things automatically. It moves us through automatically. And so once we get to the store and you go, oh, I don't remember how I got here. Or you may be driving to the store and you're driving to the store and your music comes on, you start thinking about stuff and you end up at home and you're like, whoa, 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 I was trying to go to the store. Right? That kind of thing's happened to you, hasn't it? Where you cow path to another location. See, this is the power of the unconscious mind. It does things automatically based upon what it's been taught and its belief systems. So if you can be like really clear that you're going to the store and you end up at home, what do you think your unconscious mind is doing when it's helping you choose relationships or stay in relationships or attract somebody or even attract money or even a job, the career, any of that stuff? Everything we do is based upon our unconscious mind and what it believes, how it interacts, and how it feels, right? So when we're taught in this Hollywood model that we need this excitement, right? Or like women are like, oh, we need the bad boy because we don't want the nice guy. That's too boring. Or I have to protect myself by being a boss babe bitch because no guy can take care of me. So I'm just going to step up in my masculine and I'm going to protect myself and put up a wall around my heart. And then I'm going to blame all the men for being too weak. But I'm not going to let them do anything for me either. And then I'm upset I can't find love. And this is what happens. And it's not like any of us are doing this consciously. But this is the dynamic that's showing up from the unconscious, right? And then the poor men, like they're getting these, it's time to start showing your emotions. You can't be so, so tough. Like this is the age where men are supposed to show their emotions. And then women are like, yeah, you're supposed to be emotional, but not that emotional. Like, no, that's not right. I want you to be masculine, but not that kind of masculine. I want you to do this and do that. And, I want you to want me, but I don't want you to want me in that way. Like, I want you to show me that I'm sexy, but don't show me I'm sexy in that way because that's offensive. And guys are like, no. Right? So everybody's like dealing with this, like, judgment from society and how we're supposed to be in order to find a mate. And it just screws everything up. And no one knows what they're looking for. And we're caught up in all of this social drama. Even if you're like, I'm not in this social drama. I do really mellow. I meet somebody out or I meet somebody at an event and we have a nice time and then we go on a couple of dates and it's like, meh. But do you really know what you're looking for? And are you giving people a deeper chance? Or are you blowing them off too quickly? We have this thing called confirmation bias in our brains. And what confirmation bias is, once we see something, that is all we see. Okay? So how can that be applied to dating? Well, let me give you another example. So confirmation bias in the real world, quote unquote, looks like, oh, I'm going to go out and I'm going to buy a Denali, a GMC Denali, because I don't see very many of them around and I want something that's a little bit different, right? I'm going to get a red GMC Denali. That's what I want. And then I'm driving around and all of a sudden I start seeing red GMC Denalis everywhere. I'm like, what, did everyone buy a red GMC Denali all of a sudden? No, what happened is you brought your brain's attention to something and now you're seeing it everywhere. So this is what we're doing in the Looking for Love course, is we are identifying the traits that you want in a partner. So that way your brain can actually start helping you recognize them. Because the cars were always there, you just didn't see them. And the same thing happens with these traits. If you're not actually setting your unconscious mind up to see them or to notice that they're not there, you're going to make mistakes. And it's fine to make mistakes. I've made mistakes. God knows, I've been teaching this class for 2 years. And I still decide, like, it's okay if someone doesn't have one of my traits. It'll be fine. I tell everybody, no, all 5 traits. Anyway, there's sidetracking here. So what do we want to do? We want to start paying attention to what we want. And I'm going to bring you through a process really, really quickly. But let me give you a little story first. So I remember being out. I was out with like five of my good friends. I was up in the Twin Cities area, and I was up there for school. So I was spending the night at a friend's house because I didn't want to have to drive an hour back and forth each way because school was like 12-hour days at that point in time, 4 hours, 4 days in a row. So I just spent the night at her house. So I showed up one Friday night, and her friends are getting ready to go out, and they're all glitzed up, right? Like all the super sexy clothes. They got the heels on, they got the makeup on, the hair done. Like, I didn't bring any of that. I'm going to school. And they're like, you want to come with us? I was like, sure. Like, I'm pretty much in jeans and a crappy tank top, but I'll totally go out with you guys because who cares? It'll be fun. So we go out to this fancy bar, and they're all having fun. We're all having fun, blah, blah, blah. And I start talking to this guy. And he's like, how do I get these girls to like me? And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, look at like, they're so like sexy and they're all dressed up and they're all nice and la la la. And here I am and I'm just a nice guy and I'm dressed this way and they won't even look at me. And I literally looked at him and I was like, so you're complaining because those five girls aren't dressed up, but I'm with them. And you're complaining that they're not looking at you because you're not dressed up, but I'm not dressed up, but I'm not good enough because I'm not dressed up. And he's like, no, 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 it's okay. You're fine. But I just want one of them. And I was like, dude, you don't deserve to see me in heels and makeup then. Like, you don't. Like, I would fucking, yeah. But this is what I'm saying. This is what we do all the time because our unconscious mind gets locked in on an idea and then we miss out. And I guarantee that somewhere along the line you've passed up someone great. So I talk about the concept of soulmate. I don't necessarily think there's only one person out there for everybody, but I use it as a concept to kind of lock in a long-term life partner or whatever it is that you're looking for, right? Soulmate, earthmate, long-term life partner. Some people talk about a twin flame. That's way different. We're not really going to talk about that. But so what you want to do is as you start working with this is first of all, we need to align our beliefs with our unconscious mind. So what do you think you actually believe? Now, this is really important because your unconscious beliefs were formed, majority of them, before you were the age of 7, which means that what you believe about relationships and love and how you define them was defined before you even knew like relationship love in some ways. Like, sure, like a lot of us had like kindergarten crushes and things like that. And if we saw divorce, if we saw parents yelling at each other, if we saw lack of a parent, there was abuse of any kind, that informs how we interact with our relationships. So for example, you may think you want, I'm going to talk to the women here, you may think you want a really kind, straightforward, bold guy, right? And then you find this really kind, straightforward, bold guy, but you grew up in a house where your parents yelled at each other a lot. And so somewhere unconsciously, your brain learned that yelling equals love. So here you are, you're in this stable, secure relationship with this nice, kind guy, and your unconscious mind goes, hey, there's no yelling. He must not love you. And all of a sudden, consciously, you start getting really irritated at him for whatever, because he did something or didn't do something or said something or didn't say something. Doesn't matter because your unconscious is back there going, yelling equals love. Yelling equals love. We should create some drama and some conflict to make sure he still loves us. And this is part of what happens with attachment styles. But this is also what happens in the dynamics of dating, right? Where we think we need something or don't need something that actually is totally unconscious and it's not aligned with our conscious ideas. So we will write down these traits and your unconscious mind says something like this: you can't have that. There's no good ones like that left. You don't deserve that. Where are you going to find a person like that? And guess what's going to happen if you tell your traits to other people? They're going to validate that. And one of the coolest things is when I brought someone through the Learning to Find Love. So that's a 6-week course that we do that expands on all the ideas I'm going to talk about today. So I had people take this, obviously. But one guy called me. He's like, hey, I did your course. And he goes, you were so right. Like I kept waiting for the better and I kept waiting for the better. I kept saying that's close, but not quite. And I had to really retrain my mind to see what was missing instead of what was there, because a lot of people had some kind of okay, like some great things there and they were better than anyone I had ever dated. But then I kept looking at my list and going like, but this isn't there and I want that too. Or this isn't quite right. But within 2 months of taking the course, he found his life partner. Right? So when we align our conscious minds with our unconscious minds, and we align what we desire with our energies, everything's possible. Okay? So what I want to do is I'm going to take you through a process here, but let me tell you a little bit more about why. So we don't want to take up other people's energy just whining about dating anymore. I want you to know what you want at a deep level. For example, when I first started this process, I learned it from my mentor. They'd been teaching it for a long time. It's been taught all over, East and West Coast and all the kind of things. So when I first did this, I thought I knew what I wanted in a partner, probably like you think you do. But I did the work. And when I did the work, I realized that the number one thing I needed in a lifelong partner was playfulness. It was the number one thing I needed in a lifelong partner. It was not on my list anywhere to be found. You're like, well, how did you miss that? Because it was more subtle. When I started looking at, and this is what I'm going to have you do, what I had in relationships that I loved and what was missing out of the relationships I didn't, that was the trait. So here's what I'm going to have you do. So you're going to make a list of, like, let's say your 5 most significant relationships. If you don't have 5 significant relationships, you can do 2, 3, 1. If you don't feel like you've had any really significant relationships, because some of you are going to be young on here, right? Maybe you haven't had any relationship yet. Then what I want you to do is I want you to take the relationships that you've seen on television or movies or your friends or your families and take 5 of them that you know really well. And you're going to start out by writing down a list of everything that you love in the relationship. Now, these are about them, not about how they're treating you, not about how they look, not about the chemistry, because that's a different section. We go through all of that in the Learning to Find Love course. That's different. We want just traits. Who are they in the world? Who are they in the world? Have you ever dated somebody that pretended to be something that they're not? And then after a while, you realize that they're not actually the person that they're pretending they're being, that they couldn't actually hold that space for a long term. My bet is if you had looked at them at the beginning of when you started dating and looked at if they held that trait in other areas of their life, you would be able to say, no, they didn't. So what do I mean by that? So let's say you go out on a date and you know that you want someone that communicates clearly. And communication clearly for you means a level of emotional intelligence. So maybe you're sitting down talking and you're talking about things that are very emotional and you're like, yeah, this person, like, they've got a good level of emotional intelligence. They can talk about this. But then when you watch them interact with the waitresses, when you hear them tell stories about their past relationships, when you ask them stories about their parents, you realize that they don't have a lot of emotional awareness, right? So we look at this at a deeper level. How do they treat everybody? So if you think, oh, someone's super generous, they tip the waitress really well, they're treating me really well, they're bringing me all these gifts, they're super generous being, they're talking about all the ways that they're being generous in the world. But then you start noticing that, like, they're bad-mouthing homeless people and they're getting really stingy at other areas. Or you may notice how they treat people beyond when you're around. Right? Does that make sense? I kind of said that a little bit weird. Meaning, like, they might do things to impress you, but then when you look at how they're treating others or you hear about other stories about them in the world, that's not actually who they are. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take these traits. We're going to start putting them into categories. Now, I also want you to take the relationship traits of your past exes or relationships, significant relationships, the same 5 that you were working with or up to 5. And you're going to write a list of all the things you didn't like about the relationship. So, how did they speak? How did they treat you? Is kind of separate, but also keep that, like, you'll still want to know that because you do want them to treat you well, right? So obviously, if you're seeing things that are like, yeah, this is the no-go category, keep those. We're just not going to put them in with our traits. So the reason why we take those is this is where some of the gold lies about what you really need in a relationship. Because what we've seen over and over and over again when we teach the Learning to Find Love course is that when people have their 5 traits, their solid 5 traits of what they need in a partner, if a partner does not have one of them, that will be the thing that will break them up every single time. So when you look at the list of things that you love in your partners in the past, and then you've got the list of things that you did not like, that you didn't appreciate, that you hated, that were red flags. I mean, this can be anything from the way they communicated to cheating, to their messiness, to how they dealt with finances, to, I mean, anything. Emotional intelligence. I've had people put things on there about their desire, like how they interacted with family, how they repaired conflict. I mean, you can put everything, anything that you want on that list. And then you're going to take the opposite of all those negatives and turn them positive. So now you're going to have this whole list of positive things, positive traits. Both the things that you saw that you loved in relationships and the things that you didn't like that you really, and the opposite of that. Then you're going to put them into themes. And this is how I found out that the number one thing that I need in a relationship is playfulness. Why? Because I didn't want to be made fun of if I decided to go run off and play on this swing set. I wanted them to join me, or at least laugh, or at least be like, yeah, she loves to play. That's fantastic. I wanted someone that was open to playing with my nephews. I wanted someone that wanted to play games. I wanted someone that was a little bit silly, that would make me laugh, that I could laugh with when you were in conversation. But I didn't want class clown. That's too far for me. So my playfulness was the word that I chose to describe what I wanted. Now, playfulness for me, once again, might look different. You might love the class clown. You might love like a lot of like dirty, derogatory kind of jokes. Some people love that stuff. Great. It's not my thing. That doesn't fall under my category of playfulness, right? But I want playfulness like, I'm going to explore in the kitchen. Let's try to cook something random together. I want playfulness in the bedroom. I want playfulness in a lot of areas of my life. So playfulness is a trait that carries through multiple areas. It's a theme that I know how to recognize when someone has it and when someone doesn't. So this is where the gold is. So now you're not just saying like, oh, I want someone that communicates well. You're like, what does it mean when they don't communicate well? And you have a whole list of things that they might do if they don't communicate well in the way that you need. So now we're not only evaluating like, hey, are they confident? Or hey, are they financially stable? Or smart with money, or whatever the word is that you want to use, or something else. What does it actually look like? Because financially stable has to stay the same even if they lose their job. Financially stable has to stay the same. You know what I mean? Like, you can't be like, oh, I want someone that's financially stable. They lose their job and they're like, shoot, now they don't have that trait anymore. No, because the trait is who are they in the world? So someone that's financially stable, for example, might have a backup plan. Or they might know how to cut down on their spending really, really tight so they can make it through. Or they might have a level of motivation and drive that drives them to do anything that's ethical and moral and legal or whatever to make money. So you know that who they are as a person is to make sure that the house never gets foreclosed on. Like, that's who they are in the world. It's not just because right now they just happen to have a super cush job. That's not a trait. That's a life circumstance. They may have created the life circumstance, but what was What was it that they have, or what do they have that created that life circumstance? Do they have motivation? Do they have drive? Do they have integrity? Do they have risk taking? Do they have passion? Or do they have corruption? Do they have evilness? Like, I don't know, right? It doesn't always have to be a good trait that gets them there. So, what is the trait that you want in that partner? See what I'm saying? So, as you're looking at these traits, what we're really looking at is like, how do you know when they have it and when they don't? And when you have that, that's going to save you a lot of hassle, a lot of time, and a lot of energy in relationships. And wouldn't you like that? To not have all the drama in dating? Because here's what's happened when you're dating. So, beyond just the Hollywood model, when we meet somebody and we are chemically attracted to them, right? We get in that lust attraction. That's testosterone and estrogen. That lasts a year or two. So if you find people that keep breaking up after a year or two, that tends to be because they're working with that chemical reaction. Or they probably knew it wasn't right, but worked on it long enough until that chemical was actually gone, even if they weren't actually physically or chemically attracted to them anymore, right? There's still a dynamic that happens there. So lust is like the first level of attraction that we have. This is like the quick burn, right? This is the chemistry that the Hollywood model says, oh yeah, like they gotta like turn you on and there's all mysterious and isn't it hot and sexy that like you don't know a lot about them and it's kind of fun. Like, should I be anxious or should I be like, oh man, like they must be really great because like, they're not texting me back. Like, what is that, right? This is what we're learning. So what we're going to do now, so we've got the lust, right, which is estrogen and testosterone. Now, when you start getting deeper levels of connection, you start releasing dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin. Now, dopamine, that's that little addiction kind of thing, right? This is what we get when we scroll on our phones. This is what we get when they start texting us and it's really exciting and we're a little bit back and forth. We get that dopamine hit. It's that quick. We can start thinking irrationally. We start idealizing our partner and we start looking over those things that maybe aren't so great. Those little red flags, those yellow flags. And we start going like, well, that's not that big of a deal. That'll be all right. Be all right. No, that's the hormones. And if you don't have your traits to ground you in, those hormones are going to swipe you into another kind of okay situationship or a not quite right relationship that's going to waste a couple more years of your life. Is that really what you want? I mean, you can have it. I've done it lots of times. I'm sure many of you have too, and that's why you're here, right? So, settling in. So dopamine, norepinephrine, serotonin. So these are the ones that start really working with each other to create that attraction, right? You really like the person. You might even think that you love the person, and maybe you do kind of love the person. I've got whole other classes on what love is and the definition of love, so we're not even going to get into that right now. But these are very idealistic in these spots. So now what gets one level deeper? Oxytocin and vasopressin. So oxytocin is known as the cuddling hormone. It's like the bonding hormone. This is what women start releasing. Healthy moms start releasing this when they have children. It's also released when you have hugs, when you have healthy touch, even a hand on the arm. So when people touch you on the arm, hold your hand, touch your shoulder, non-sexual touch even. You sit back to back, someone rubs your feet. Any kind of healthy touch like that releases oxytocin. Oxytocin is what would they call the cuddling hormone. It is so important for people of all ages. There are so many studies on the benefits that it does for sports teams, like those slaps on the asses and the high fives, like those actually release oxytocin and increase the likelihood of teamwork, trust, right? And so these encourage commitment. They encourage stronger relationships. And vasopressin encourages long-term commitment. Vasopressin, if I remember correctly, I've read a couple of things about it. And if I remember correctly, one of the things, especially men, that releases vasopressin is resolving conflict together. Right? Or being able to take care of something, like fix something that's broken, like something like that's dangerous, and they are able to fix it. That releases vasopressin. That makes them feel like the man of the household. That makes them feel bonded to their family, which makes them more likely to be monogamous if you're in a monogamous style relationship. So vasopressin and oxytocin are these long-term commitment, deep bond types of hormones. Okay. So vasopressin also helps people be more vigilant about the relationship. People defend each other. They are connected. They work together. They mutually reinforce things, right? They facilitate deeper bonding, social reward. So when you have this level of hormonal attachment, this is actually where the true deep chemistry comes in. This is the chemistry that lasts forever. For a long time. I won't say forever. But this is the chemistry that lasts. This is the people, which I hear over and over and over again in my Learning to Find Love class. Yeah, if I had rated their attractiveness when I first met them, they were like a 6 or a 7 to me. But now that I know them, they're a 9 or a 10. Over and over again, I hear things like that. And not to say like that this doesn't happen to like 10s out of 10s in the first place already, right? And this is the thing, is that it shows the power of these hormones to change our level of chemistry. So we're taught in this Hollywood model, like, look at chemistry first. But the thing is like, okay, cool. Now we're all in it with the testosterone and the estrogen and the dopamine, and this is amazing, and it's hot and it's sexy. And now I love you, and I think I love you. But man, you got all this shit that annoys me, and you do the thing, and you're not taking care of me this way. And now we're angry, and now there's conflict, and I don't really understand this. But, I've been in it for a year, so I'm going to keep fighting because, I've learned that I just have to keep working on relationships and working on myself, and maybe it's my fault, and we're going to make this work because, dang it, there's chemistry, and we like each other, and you've got some traits that are kind of cool and stuff, and then like 2 years later, you're just like, I'm done, and I'm so over it. Or the other person is like, I'm done, I'm so over it. Why? Because like those deep traits, those bonds were not there. So when we lost the other hormones, we lost the relationship. Now, of course, there's other reasons too. There's cheating, there's betrayal, there's like all kinds of circumstances that also shift. But how many times have you seen that pattern in yourself or in others? And this is what happens too when we look at the unconscious mind, when we talk about people dating the same people in different bodies. People that keep dating the narcissist, they're less narcissistic, like they learn a little bit. So the next person they date isn't as bad or not as crazy, or they're not as mean, or they're not as judgmental, or they're not as stupid, or they're not as whatever negative adjective we want to throw in there. Because we kind of learn. But the unconscious mind goes, oh, you know what's safe? That person. Why? Because I recognize that pattern. That pattern is really familiar. I like familiar patterns. Come on over here. Come here. I think I know how to work with you. Come on. Like let's hang out some more. Oh yeah. I'm feeling the hormones. Yeah, I'm feeling the unconscious mind sense of safety and familiarity because you're so familiar to me. This is amazing. Let's get in a relationship. And this is what happens. It's all unconscious and hormonal. There's nothing wrong with that. This is human nature. And if you're looking for a long-term partnership, we have to ground into something that is not only subjective, but subjective and specialized to you and what you want and what you deserve and how you want to be treated in a relationship. Because everyone that's not that, you get to release so they can find a person who loves them the way that they are. And they get to release you so you get to find the person that has all your traits, that treats you like the king or queen that you are, and that the chemistry is so freaking amazing you can't even stand it. That is what we look for in our Looking for Love course. And this is starting to get you there. You're starting to look at the traits. You're starting to understand, how am I doing this? What am I missing? Why is this dating shit not working for me? And once you have your traits, guess what we start doing? We start putting it up on the dating profiles. We start telling other people what we want in a partner. We use it to evaluate. We use it to ground ourselves. Now, along with this has to come the emotional work of releasing the baggage from past relationships, right? That's why there's a lot of emotional freedom techniques, the EFT tapping that goes along with this. It's a thing that I teach. I've got a free class. If you want the free class, reach out. I'll give it to you. But it'll help you learn how to release the old baggage from relationships. Because once again, your unconscious mind its job is to keep you safe. And it keeps you safe by finding the familiar things. It keeps you safe by keeping you in similar dynamics, or by keeping you away from dynamics that it perceives as unsafe. By shutting down your heart, by pretending that I'm an independent person, I don't need love. I've got my career, I've got my job, I've got everything I want, I make good money, I have fun with my friends, I don't have to do any kind of schedule, I can get help if I want to. Why do I need a relationship? Is that what you're thinking all the time at night? Is that what you're thinking? Like, I mean, I know when I go hiking, sometimes the top of the mountain, it's like, wow, like I just went on this whole like 2-week trip by myself and it was amazing. And I met tons of people and I got to do whatever I want. And now here I am on the top of the mountain once again with nobody to share it with, nobody to share the memories with, no one to talk about it again. Right? So there's both ands. Like, just, and being in a relationship, of course, doesn't mean you can't do all these things anyway. It doesn't mean that you can't stay and have a level of independence, right? We call it interdependence, where you have two independent people that are also creating with each other, creating a synergy, growing each other's worlds, making each other better, challenging each other, creating safety for each other. That opens the heart, allows it to stay open. Now, is even the best relationship in the world going to challenge you sometimes? Yeah, of course. Humans are going to have some conflict. But I guarantee you, from everyone I've talked to that's found their soulmate through these courses, they will say that the conflict is so much less. Why? Because they have the traits that they need. Both of them. And they treat each other well. And if you have the traits that you need naturally and you treat each other well, relationships are actually way easier. Why? Because usually people are doing the work consistently instead of just when there's crisis. And so it doesn't feel like work because you want to do it. You want to do that little extra something for them. You want to tell them that they're beautiful. You want to buy them a little gift. You want to snuggle in a little more. You want to help them with their project. You want to support them when they're sad because you care about them. And so the work is in the everyday care. And the conflict's so much less. And isn't that what you want and deserve? So, hi to all the people that are watching. I can see there's a bunch of you watching, but on my computer it says there's 0 viewers. On here on my phone it says there's 4 of you. So hello, all 4 of you. I'm not seeing if there's any questions though. So now it's meeting. Oh, look it. I have a bunch of questions and comments. All right, here we go. I had to open it up in a different way. We got all the guilties. The unconscious mind is why I'm not trying very hard, as I don't want the same thing again. Yeah, and so this is the thing too, right? Is that you don't want the same thing. So what we get to do is two things. We get to both see and acknowledge. Like, here was the thing that didn't go right for me, right? And how will I recognize it again in the future? And then show our unconscious mind, what do I get to have instead? Because as the unconscious mind keeps us safe, so it might say, like, oh, if I think like yelling and screaming is the only thing that makes me feel loved, as you clear using EFT or any other technique in the whole entire world, basically, that will help you clear that, and I can support you with all of that. Once you teach your brain, like, hey, look at how love can look like peace. Look at how love can look like, I don't know if you follow like the Gottmans, for example. Look at how love can follow like what the Gottmans say, where you treat each other kindly. Look at how love can be more safe for me, right? And so you don't have to like try really hard. What you get to do is like step into the healing of where you were hurt. And then instead of trying, we get to be present with what's showing up. And is this what I want? We have this saying when I do like cuddle practices and tantric practices and thing, we always say, like, if it's a no, it's a no. If it's a hell yes, it's a yes. If it's a maybe, it's a no. In other words, we don't settle for kinda. We don't settle for, I sort of want that. We don't settle for that might be okay. And so when we're in a place of like openness, heart wise, love, but also in a place of neutrality of like, I'm so strong in myself that I'm open and I desire a partner. And here are the things I know I need in a partner, but I'm not out desperately trying to find a partner, which means that I'm going to probably get emotional, which means I'm going to get out of my logical state, which means I'm more likely to make a mistake. Now, you see the difference? Like, we can be back and really in our power and really be settled in there. Yeah, so good. I find myself saying these things, I'm this way, or how do I get somebody to like me? Yes. So this is the one thing. In the Learning to Find Love course, one of the things we talk about is when you know your traits, everything's a test. Everything's a test. Not that you're testing the other person, but okay, it's a first date, right? You and I sit down across the table from each other and we're having fun and we're talking a little bit and I spill my water glass. And of course, the reaction is usually like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. What are they going to think of me? I spilled water all over the table. I spilled it in their lap. Oh my God, they're never going to want to talk to me again. No. People spill things. It was an accident. Right? How are they going to react? Are they going to help you clean it up? Are they going to help find the waitress to help you or the waiter to come help you clean it up? Are they going to make sure that you're dry and all the things? Are they going to laugh at you and make fun of you? Well, I tell you what, that's good. Like, oh God, thank you. If you're going to laugh and make fun of me for that, like, I'm out. So it's a test. You get to see, like, who are they actually in the world? Are they acting in this moment the way that I would want my life partner to act? And if not, awesome. I'm out of here. Thank you so much for the date. You're not the right person for me. Best of luck. That's it. And it changes the dating scene because now we're not desperate to make anyone like us. We're not putting on a show. We're not playing the game of should I text them or not. What if they think I like them? I actually saw a great video. I can't remember his name right now. He's this dude. He sounds like he's from New York or Brooklyn or something like that. And he actually had this thing up, and it said, "I'm sorry if I texted you back too fast. I had my phone in my hand when your text came through, and I actually like you, and I'm mature." Right? Like, I mean, this is how we should be. Like, oh shit, look at that. They texted me while my phone's in my hand. I'm excited to see their text. I'm going to text back. So being like, oh shit, they texted me. Cool. Well, I don't want to seem too desperate. So I'm just going to leave that there. No. Be who you are. And if they think you're too much, they're not the right person for you because you're not too much. I'm often told I talk too much, I'm too loud, I'm too hyper, I'm too energetic, I'm too blah, blah, blah. I get too in my masculine, which I do sometimes get too in my masculine. I'm working on that. But guess what? If I didn't have to get my masculine because the man I was with supported me, and I'm not talking about financial support, but if they actually like stepped up and made me feel emotionally safe, I don't get in my masculine ever. I mean, okay, I can't say ever because I do at work, but there's a time and place for everything, right? We all have divine feminine and divine masculine inside of us. There's times for both. We also have toxic feminine and toxic masculine inside of all of us. And those will pop up too. Everybody. I don't care how you identify, you've got all four inside of you. So there's a time and place for it all. So trying not to speak in big overarching analogies, but it's true. Guilty. You're married to like that, someone 10 years. Recently ended a relationship and they immediately found a new partner. Yeah. Yep. That happens. So, what I want you to take away from this is I want you to start noticing, where are you pretending to be someone you're not out on dates because you think you should be? And what do you really want? So do this exercise. I actually have one of my clients right now doing this exercise, and he's like, "Wow, I'm uncovering so much." He's been working on it for 2 weeks, right? So we can go deep levels if you want. Depends on how deep you want to go into it. But write down once again, write down all the positive traits, write down all the negative traits, turn them positive of your past relationships, merge them together, find themes, and then start noticing, okay, like for example, when I have my themes, playfulness, right? And strong masculine frame, which is I shifted that the first time I quote unquote did this, I called that theme the man of the house. In other words, like I wanted him to be able to do stuff. I wanted to be competent at fixing things, or at least notice if something was broken and hire someone to do it, so I didn't have to feel like I had to do it all. Right? I like wanted him to take charge of things. Take me out on dates. Like make me feel like I could step back and not have to run everything. So that was one of my traits. One of my traits is around emotional intelligence and self growth. The people I'm with have to always be growing because I'm always growing. Always. Like I'm always learning something new about myself. I'm always deepening my level of emotional intelligence. I'm always doing some healing work. I'm always, blah, 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 blah. And I need a partner that does that too, right? They have to be high energy, meaning both vibrational and they want to have to do stuff. I don't like television. I'm not a big movie fan. I'll sit down and watch a couple. I have fun with them. It's not my thing. I don't want to sit around on a Sunday all day and watch sports. If they want to do that, awesome. But we're going to make some other time to do other things together as well. Right? So notice how none of these are like my guy likes hiking or my guy likes being outdoors, because those aren't traits. Those are like hobbies. Right? So what are the traits? Traits, he's high energy, high vibration. He's energetic. He wants to do stuff. He wants to move. And notice how these interweave, right? I've got someone that's playful, that's high energy, that's the man of the house. He knows when things are wrong. He kind of does things. We go out together. We're playful. We enjoy each other. We're good communicators, right? And so all these things interweave into this vision that I have of my mate. And this was what you'll see. So in the learning, in the Learning Find Love class, we narrow it down to 5 so we can actually put it in a grid and evaluate it and all the things. And what you'll notice is that that's all you need, because the 5 will incorporate everything you need in a partner when you do it well. So some people have done things like their trait is like healthy living. And that incorporates like that they like to go exercise and that they eat certain types of food and that they garden or something like that, right? So, like, however you create your category is how you create your category. There's no judgment. You know what it means. But then you can go out when people are like, "Oh man, you're still single." Like, yeah, well, what do you want? Like, who are you looking for? You're like, "Oh, you know what? I'm actually looking for a man who's super high energy and super curious about the world. Like his curiosity drives him to travel and explore and always is learning about new ideas and new cultures. Like, and I want a man that can hold the masculine frame, so we can go out in the world and have fun together, right? Like that, being able to speak it that simple. Now you have a better idea of who I'm looking for. If I'm like, I don't know, I want someone that's like kind. I want someone that's not an asshole. It'd be nice if I had someone that knew how to cook. Like, people are like, I don't know. Like, nobody comes to mind. But when you can paint that energetic picture and get really excited about it, like, now that's where the juice gets going, right? That's where you start manifesting. That's where you can start telling people or putting up on your dating profile. It's a point of conversation, right? So we go way deeper into this in the full course. We go into how to evaluate it. We actually put them, like, we actually list up to 10 traits, and then we put them in a grid and we evaluate them against each other. I talk a lot more deeply about how to find the questions to ask on a date if you don't know if that person has your traits or not. So we get into it really, really deeply. So keep asking questions. I'm just going to tell you about the upcoming course. So I've got the Learning to Find Love course, which is a 6-week course or a full day course if you come take it live in person. And we go through all of this in a really, really deep way. So you get a little bit of one-on-one coaching. It's a live small course for everybody. We do some tapping, we do some emotional work, we do some unconscious belief change work. We shift your energy around what's possible. I'm too old, I'm too young, there's no one like that out there, I'm broken, I've already tried, online dating sucks, all dating sucks, blah, 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 blah. Like, all of those are just beliefs that get in our way of actually manifesting, of actually calling in the partner that we want. So we go through all of that. We work through all that. We clear all of that in this course. We look at how they treat you. We look at chemistry. We look at other lines of compatibility. We talk about how to evaluate those in the order that you evaluate them. And it's only $333. So I've got an online one starting in January. I've got an in-person one in January. I'll drop the link down below. It's only $333, but I'm doing a code LOOKING, LOOKING, for $50 off if you want to sign up. So that's there for that, for those of you that feel called to that want something deeper. And I'm going to keep teaching this class, I've decided, by the way. I used to teach it like once a year, and I'm like, you know what? So many people are just struggling in dating right now. I'm going to teach this again in 2 weeks. So feel free to come in, ask more questions. I'm just going to keep this group open. So there'll be actually a couple of rolling classes around. And then I'll probably teach it once a month after that, depending upon what's going on. So this class will ebb and flow based upon questions, based upon what I'm finding that people need. But just know that if you have anyone that's struggling, they can always come into this group. They can watch any of the courses. Any of you are more than welcome to contact me at any time, because I'd love to support you. Like, this is my life's work and my life's passion. Seriously. I get so much joy when I have people call me and say, like, I found my person. And I know so many people that have. It's so, 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 so great. Awesome. I understand all 4 pretty well. Good, good. I'm so glad it lands for you, Dominic. And it's so nice to see you. All right. Well, if there are no more questions, feel free that, you guys can drop questions in, even the replays. You might start putting your traits together and be like, wow, that sounded really easy, and now it's not. Feel free to drop questions into the group. I'll answer them. I'm more than willing to help. So once again, thank you so much for joining me. The Learning to Find Love course will be both in the links, and you can sign up for it. And then I'll be calling and reaching out to say, like, hey, do you want, because you get an immediate virtual one, by the way. So you get to do the Learning for Love, Find Love virtually whenever you want. Like, it's on demand. But then I do it live, and you also get the next live access. And I do it in person. So you get to choose what you want to do and where you want to go. So you get the virtual for sure, and then you get the other live versions as well. Because I feel like the live versions are really supportive for people, but people don't always want to wait that long. So we'll do them in January so y'all can find some amazing love before Valentine's Day. So just remember that you are love, you are loving, and you are all lovable. I totally believe that. I believe in you. Thanks for coming. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.